What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? It is Friday, August 14th, 1:30 p.m. You guys know, moving forward, kind of expect this time for our Friday live streams. My Friday mornings as a coach, I'm back to back from 6 a.m. till right now. So that's why normally I schedule my live streams 10:15 a.m., about 3 hours before. But this 1:30 p.m. is kind of what I could fit in moving forward. Now, wherever you are in the world, I say welcome as you're tapping in. Let's like the video. We're coming off a huge Wednesday night in Australia. We had a clean sweep. We hit 3 of our tickets, and we have a big card left in Georgia. We have the Salida Promotions card, so we'll go over that. All the JSB insiders, our VIPs on Patreon, our VIPs on YouTube, should have all of my tickets, including UFC and boxing. In the Discord, I also posted our quarterly moonshot parlay. That's the only place it's going to appear, there and on Instagram. So it's like 850 to 1. $100 gets you 85,000. And I missed on our July moonshot and hit on our first ever in June. So the June moonshot was 440 to 1. And this one is 830 to 1. So it's a little bit, those moonshot parlays. Shout out to one of our insiders, Youngin. He gave me the idea a month or so ago. So shout out to Youngin. And he's kind of, if there is an expert in the field of creating absolute moonshot parlays with hit rates, I'd say he's my guy I turn to. So I create them for fun for the boys. It's definitely Russian roulette though when you're dealing with anything 830 to 1. But I still want to let you know I did put thought into it. It's not like I was guessing or at random. So if you have any questions on that moonshot, let me know. If you have any questions on all the tickets that are posted, let me know. Any fights that you want to talk about, boxing or UFC, I'll stay on as long as you guys want to chat. If anybody who is in our Discord wants to come on the live and chat, I'll leave the link in the chat right now. And if you are a JSB insider, either on YouTube or Patreon, and you're not in our Discord, send me a DM or an email. You should be in our Discord. And hands down, the best boxing community around. To join, it's a couple bucks a month. I will leave that link pinned in the chat, and I'll say what's up to the boys. We got 40 people already in here. Our lives over the last month, we've been averaging between like 70 and 110. It just shows you our growth. It shows you that we're doing this organically. And we're creating a space for boxing heads, boxing guys who like to break fights down, talk about boxing. More importantly, people like us who then put our hard-earned cash on what we see and we win. So let's go. Groovy Allen, Mudda Truckers, love the alien. I ever tell you the story, Groovy Alien, about the time I went to, what was it called? Rachel, Nevada, to do an Area 51 documentary. I've lived many lives, my friend, many, many lives. I lived in Vegas from 2011, late 2010 to late 2013, and then moved to Sydney in 2013. And while I was in Vegas, I was friends. Shout out to Paulie Gumballs, Paulie Tedesco. He talked me into driving out to Extraterrestrial Highway, 3.5 hours outside of Vegas, to a little town called Rachel, Nevada, where Area 51 is. And there's this little bar called the Little Alien Inn. And we got absolutely shit-faced. And then we hung out with the townies. There's only like a couple hundred, maybe even 100 people who live in Rachel, and they all seem to work at this little bar. Anyway, it's a story for another time. Cody, let's go. Skeezy, Perth in the house. Shout out to Perth. Perth is becoming what? A fight capital of Australia. What's up, Diego? Wadagi, my guy. Rest in peace to Pritchard Clone. Bro, so you guys might know this. I don't know if you jumped on our team maybe a year ago, but before from like 2021, more like 2022 to 2023, I was building my YouTube telling boxing stories, like doing these documentaries. And at the time in 2022 and 2023, YouTube would allow content creators to take content that already existed, and as long as you made it your own, you could use it to tell stories. And I did one on Pritchard Cologne. It was one of my favorites. I told the whole story. Everything, how he came up, the top rank, the money they put behind him, his rise, and then what happened on that night, both to him and his opponent. And then, at 33 years old, he passed away today. It was heartbreaking. Boxing is a dangerous sport. Guys, it's why you never hear me bash fighters. I'll never call fighters bums. I'll never call them trash. Real life consequences, man. So rest in peace to Pritchard Colon, man. Sad story. Rodrigo Garcia. Vamos. Yayo's in the house. Let's see. All the heads up. All the boys, man. We got mad love. Keep it positive around here. I like it. Always watching. I appreciate you, Hanky. Appreciate you. If you guys are watching, I'll talk. Garry Antonio Russell is 120. Let's pull that up, man. That's the first. Now, that fight happens next week. Yayo knows what he's talking about. This is the third. This is the middle brother of the three. The oldest, Garry Russell Jr. The youngest, Garry Antoine Russell, GAR, the world champion at 40. And Antonio is 33. He's the middle brother. Let's check these odds out, what you're speaking of. I know this is next week, though, right? He's fighting Victor Santillan. Wow, these are great odds. Now, before I look to the far right of the screen, Yayo, look at that. Look at the odds fluctuation is wild. So Santillan started at $1.07. That's crazy. Guys, Santillan started as the favorite at $1.70. Now he's the dog. I have to do my due diligence on Santillan, but I'm not going to lie, and this isn't supposed to offend anybody here. I wonder, and we have some really, really sharp guys in our Discord. Not every, but we also have guys who are new to the game and they come to learn. But I wonder how many of those bettors to have made the odds flip like that in such a short amount of time think that that's Garry Antoine Russell. I wonder how many of them know that that's actually Garry Antonio Russell. But before I give you a read, I'll let you know. I should also say the Russell family, for how skilled they are, for the world champion pedigree, for how well coached they are, for their amateur pedigree, they are a family and a team who are kind of known for being, not that active. Obviously, that's not shocking. But for Garry Antonio to come back and fight, what I'm trying to say is you'd have to think that his team, his brothers, see something in this matchup that they like. So before I give you a read, I'll need until the weekend. But thanks for the heads up. And Yayo, good eyes on that, because it was only 2 days ago that Antonio was the dog, and now he's the favorite. Wizard. Corey Marksman main event. That was quick as hell. I swear we had something to do with it. I'm not trying to come at it from an egotistical perspective, but when Corey broke onto the scene, I think Corey was fighting on that card, that really small card in Atlanta, like almost over a year ago. And we broke his tape down. We did a Stats Don't Lie video on him. We did a prediction on him, and I think we might have got him at plus money. I shared we shared the short. I did an Instagram thing, and he hit. And then in his next fight, they pair him up with a guy in similar age and a puncher, and then he excelled as well. And our group, we've known who Corey Marksman has been for at least a year and a half. We've been talking about him. It's great to see him getting a main event spot. And the bookies have caught on because you're only getting 26% return on his money line value at the moment. And this is based off of my memory. 26%. Yeah, come on, boys. I'm sharp with it. Corey Marksman, he's at 27% return against Gonzalez. And Marksman's nice with it, man. He's clean, dude. He could be aggressive. He could be slick. He's very, you know what, man? Boxing, like North American, because he's North American. How many boxers are out there that are just so skilled that we don't know about due to either lack of promotion, lack of opportunity, lack of financial backing? I mean, I did a video not too long ago before Jaron Ennis signed with Matchroom, and my knock on Ennis at the time, this was before he fought Stanionis. My knock was, I hope one day Boots gets a promoter who actually sees the value because, all Boots is missing is somebody to promote him well because he wasn't getting promoted, right? And then he's getting promoted, and we've all always known how good Boots is, and now he's a superstar cusp, right? A little promotion, and Marksman's one of these guys. I'm not comparing him to Boots. I'm just saying I like what I've seen so far, and we'll see how he's moved. But Tony Hirsch Jr. Tony Hirsch Jr. I have to bring him up as well because our group, we pretty much have our hand on the pulse regarding especially prospects who are that skilled. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I knew who Tony Hirsch Jr. was before his first fight on Zuffa against Merriweather. I don't know the Oakland club scene, but what I've seen, the fight against Merriweather, the fight against Pay Benito, Tony Hirsch Jr. seems like he is a diamond in the rough. And I thought the same way about Corey Marksman. And it's great to see Marksman getting a headline spot, man. So how many the world's filled with these sort of guys. Maybe, hopefully, best sport in the world. By the way, your Egyptian prescription, Rohan? What a great name. I didn't know. How am I supposed to remember? I do have a good memory, but okay. I know you're active on the lives, you're active in the Discord, you bring a lot of value to our community. And now I know the separation of both of your names. What a great name, the Egyptian prescription. Let's go. Gary Antonio Russell fights in 2 weeks. Not this week, the following week. Johnny Maggs, Seattle Seahawks, they be getting active. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I can't speak about the Seahawks without mentioning my fellow Buckeye. Let's go. What would you say is the risk, bro? Baku, it's risky. I'll pull it. I'll show you. I'll build it together. I'll add look. Obviously, if all of my tickets, like imagine if I don't think I would be able to grow. I don't think we would be growing as fast as we were growing if my style was all moonshot, right? You would never win. So I create the moonshot as a way to tap into my own degenerate, youthful, hopeful side, right? Creating an 800 to 1 ticket is like, it gets you a bit antsy because you see the potential. But the reality of that hitting is very low. So when you ask me what is the riskiest leg, it's all risky. That's why you only see me do these tickets once a quarter. You know what I'm saying? But they are fun to do. And what's even more fun is when they start hitting. And when that one I hit in June, when the one hits and oh shit, and then this hits, and then you look at the legs, and you're like, if we get past this leg, we're in. And then that hits, and you're like, it's exciting. It's exciting. I'll read it out. And if you guys want to go, you know what? I posted on my Instagram. I'll just pull it up. And then I'll tell you what I think the most riskiest would be. Oh, shout out to Christy, former client of mine. she be getting active. All right, so I'm gonna pull it up. That's old head. That's your boy old head. It looks better in real time. I'm working on that pocket. Getting active, boys. I do want to announce, if you missed this breaking news, Australia is giving us our 3rd card in 4 weeks. Are you freaking kidding me, boys? This is insane. Tim Tszyu, Errol, families were fed. That was July 26th. Wednesday night, just now, Zarafa card. Families should have been fed if you were following along. And now, in 2 weeks, we get Nikita versus Ben Monty. I don't care. Like I told the boys this in the Discord. I'm going really, really, really heavy, and the odds haven't dropped yet on Kira Rustin, his fight, or 50 Cal's fight. But when they drop, because Nikita's at 27%. If we could get Callum and Kira both around 10 to 15%, and I'm putting the heaviest bet I'm putting down for 2026, and I've kind of been a a lack of better terms, what's a coward about this, because I'm a little bit more. My strategy isn't to bet my whole bankroll in one go. I'm not that risky yet, but I think I'm ready to do. I'm going. The heaviest bet I'm going to make in 2026 is Nikita, 50 cal, and Kira, and that's in 2 weeks. So the palms are sweaty for that one. But check your books. Hopefully, you guys get blessed wherever you are to have the option to bet on that card. And this is and results speak for themselves, right? And this is our work the last two Aussie cards. So this is what I mean. I mean, we had to make, Wednesday night the odds weren't great, so we had to get sexy with it. But the Tim Zoo card, plus 464, depending on your unit, you would have been eaten. Plus 134 on the Terramona card. It is what it is. Those were the odds. But we also hit all of our props. The points props. Australia always feeds us. Eye of the Tiger always feeds us. Top Rank always feeds us. And fingers crossed, Salida Promotions in 2 days will 100% feed us. Shout out to my boy Kane. This is Sugar Kane. He's a JSB insider. He's an amateur boxer training for the Olympics. I'm his strength and conditioning coach. Get him, Kane. Very put together young man. Very impressive young man. If I was that switched on as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old man, I was a fucking lunatic at that age. All right, here we go. So to answer your question, Baku, this is the this is the moonshot one, right? So if don't be betting your mortgage on this. This shit's crazy. So Shields on points. I'll break it down real quick. I'll give each fight 10 seconds. She doesn't stop anyone. Auntie K. Scott is super durable. Auntie K. Scott clinches and holds. They're 2-minute rounds. K. Scott, she fought in the first ever female boxing pro match in Australia. She's an OG, Olympic, amateur pedigree. She'll survive. Amanda Serrano by knockout. This is the fight for Amanda Serrano to break the all-time knockout record. I think this matchup is tailor-made for her to do that. Thus the odds. Teo and Raleigh, neither guy is knocking anybody out. From a skill perspective, skill on skill, I know Teo hasn't fought at 47 before. We know what happened against Shakur. But when we're looking at resumes, when we're dissecting pros and cons, Teofimo Lopez's skill set, the bag that he brings into the ring, I think it's going to be too much. I don't think he's going to stop Raleigh, but I think he's going to win on points. Now, Moses Ituama versus Hrgovic. I don't think Ituama is going to want to play around too much with a veteran like Hrgovic. Hrgovic is a guy who doesn't move around a lot, gets hit a lot. I think Hrgovic's aggression. I think Hrgovic is the one who's going to press the action initially, and he thinks he's going to be able to bully the young fella. And I think this is going to play into our under 6.5. Ammo Williams versus Vito Malnicki. My knock on Vito has always been, I don't think Vito is battle tested. I've won money multiple times on fading Ammo Williams. This will be the first time I'm picking Ammo Williams. And as a bettor, sometimes these are decisions we have to make. We always talk about we are not fans of fighters. We're fans of the sport. And sometimes the skill here is knowing when to either A, fade a fighter, or B, ride the fade. I've ridden the fade on Ammo. I bet against him multiple times and won. Now I'm rolling the dice and picking. I think he's going to be too much. We know with Ammo, where he lacks with skill and experience in terms of overall lifelong boxing experience, he makes up for in determination. And at a world level, the experience he has, the guys he shared the ring with, not even comparable to Vito. I think if Vito Malnicki's name was Joe Smith and his last name wasn't Malnicki, Vito wouldn't even be in this fight. That's another big talking point. We know about Vito's father. We know about, who his dad is in the, New York, New Jersey regional area. Ammo, everything Ammo has, he worked for with his hands. That says something. Katie Taylor on points at this stage of the game. This is her retirement fight. She's going to bring a lot of emotions into this fight. This is the stadium fight. What do they call it? Grok Park. Pardon me to the Irish boys if I mispronounce that. I tend not to play any female by knockouts. You know what I'm saying? Unless your name's Gabby Fandora, I'm not taking a female boxer by knockout. I like the points there. This is the Garcia versus Ben. I think Conor Ben is tailor-made to get stopped against Ryan. We could get into that more and more as we get closer to fight week. Now, here are the riskiest one. You guys might think I'm crazy. I think I think Sam Goodman at plus 300 is an absolute steal. I think Sam Goodman could 8-4 or 10-2 Nishida. Sam Goodman, I rate him as a world-class boxing operator. He is a tough southpaw. He gave Nick Ball all he wanted at 126. There's a reason Goodman was supposed to fight anyway. I've watched Goodman's whole career. I really like Goodman here. At plus 300 on paper, that is the riskiest one, but I don't agree with that. Like I'm not that worried about that fight. And then Nasukawa versus Takuma Inoue. The version of Nasukawa that we saw against El Gallo, that is a kid. We know about his world champion boxing pedigree. I faded him in his last fight. He proved me wrong. The version that we just saw against El Gallo, intention, that guy, I think handles Takuma Inoue. And at plus 208, that's not even the one I'm that stressed about. It's actually the last one, which sounds crazy. Dalton Smith versus Playo at $1.58. If we get only because I rate Alberto Playo so high, I'm a big fan of Playo. I think Playo brings a lot of problems to the ring every time he fights. This is a guy who was down. I had him down 4-1 against Gary Antoine Russell, and he figured out a way to start winning the middle rounds, figured out his distance, and started outworking GAR and won a close decision. This is a guy who knows how to make it close. You know what I'm saying? The Sandro Martin fight was a close fight. I had him beating Subaru Matias. I know he lost. He was on the short end of a decision there, but I thought Playo won the later rounds in that fight. So Playo is a very long 140-pounder. He's a veteran. He could fight at range. He could fight in the pocket. And I picked Matias to beat Dalton. And the reason why is I didn't think Dalton had it in him to win at Subriel's game. And that's exactly what he did. He played Subriel's game and beat Subriel at his game. And so, with that being said, does Playo have it in him to outbox Dalton? Because Playo's not going to stand there and give Dalton the fight that Subriel gave him. Don't expect that. Alberto Playo is a world-class operator. Like I said, he could use the ring if he needs to. He could fight in the pocket if he needs to. He could use his length if he needs to. He has a good jab, high fight IQ, knows how to win rounds late. The last third. So that's the one, even though the odds don't suggest it, that's the one I'm most worried about. It's actually one of the biggest favorites. Thinking about Teo and parlaying him. Look, you guys know we talked about this as a team 2 weeks ago. I was saying all of the advantages that I was thinking Raleigh was having. And then every time we speak about this, we talk through it. And now I went from 60-40 Raleigh 2 weeks ago. Now I'm 75-25 Teo. And, and that my boots are dug now. So I'm all in on Teofimo Lopez to go up to 147 and outbox Raleigh Romero. The line I'm playing, if it becomes available, is Teo being dropped and winning the fight. One of my biggest prop regrets of the last, we'll say 18 months of boxing. And it's always a regret, like hindsight 2020. Like, you hit a massive bet, but you should have bet more. Mine was when Ramon Cardenas fought Inoue, I took the bet Inoue to be knocked down at 16-1. But because I'm not a prop bet sort of savant and I was kind of new to the prop, I didn't think that I could have taken Naoya Inoue to be knocked down and win. That was 20-1. But I did hit the 16-1. So when I see this prop, that's what I'm reminded of. Teo being dropped and winning. I mean, when's the last time we saw Teo dropped? Was it George? He got kind of wobbled a bit in the third round against ABJ, but he didn't get dropped. He got stunned a bit. And I don't think he was really hurt against Shakur. And then, neither guy's really stopping guys. We got on paper, it says Raleigh stopped Barroso, but I don't want to get into the politics. You guys know what happened. You know the outcome of that. On paper, it's a knockout, and then Teo, the last guy he stopped was Pedro Campa in 2022. I think distance all over it. Neither guy is really starching guys. They have a friendship. They have a history. This could be an unspoken agreement. I think it's going the distance. I like Teo on points. Do you think George Littard beats Dario? I do. I like George Littard, man. George Littard is an athlete. He's always going to be in shape. I've watched him go from like sort of that Lonsdale belt, the Commonwealth belt, the British level. He's kind of at the Euro level now. He's a good athlete. He's very determined, very confident. He's kind of the last few fights have been paired decent matchmaking as well. I think he's going to be a little bit too much for Dario Morello. I haven't looked at the odds, but off jump, I would take Littard. Teo getting dropped. Yeah, I don't know if I see Teo getting dropped. Any alien stories? How did Richard wind up so bad from back of the head shot? It wasn't just one back of the head shot, Cody. Here's what happened. So so Cody's referring to Pritchard Cologne, the 33-year-old top-ranked fighter who passed away today. But somewhere around a decade ago, he was 15-0, star power, great on the mic, Puerto Rican fan base, North American fan base. Obviously, he looked the part, fun style, long for the division, active. But the right before the fight, the fight where it happened, Pritchard had fought 4 times in a very short amount of time. And this is and I brought this up in the documentary I did that YouTube ended up taking down. But the reason why that is significant is when you're that young, it is common to take a lot of fights in small amounts of time. But there's a double-edged sword to that. When everything from, are you cutting, like, do you have to cut weight? Did you cut weight more than 4 times in a small amount of time? Meaning now we're dehydrating ourselves, we're taking damage, we're getting hit in the head, and we're not giving our body, our brain, significant time to recover. So it was kind of this um tipping point. It was kind of a perfect storm um for tragedy to happen. It wasn't just one back of the head shot either. Pritchard Cologne was complaining. I think it was over 50 rabbit punches, by the way. Let me pull that up to. It was the entire fight. You from this first round clinch onward, you see Pritchard Cologne talking to the ref. Yeah, it says there's no exact number. We could do that if we wanted to watch it. So there's no exact number. It was in 2015 against Terrell Williams. Video that he was hit numerous times. It was the entire fight. It was so many times from the very first round. Yeah, you could see it from the very first clinch in the middle of the first. And so he ended up stopping in the ninth, and then he's in the. You could see he's dazed, and then he passes out. I think in the locker room. Horrible, horrible story. And this is what I was talking about though about the activity. Sometimes the body needs time to recover. But when you're younger and you're a hot prospect and you're being moved a certain way, here's what I'm talking about. Okay, so he fought Terrell October of 2015. So we'll go to like a calendar. Like, look at this. So 14 months from the fight. So we'll start August of 2014. He fought Terrell October of 2015. So a little more than a calendar year. Cologne fights, and all these fights almost go the distance. He fights 1 fight, 2 fight, 3 fight, 4 fight, 5 fight. So that was his 6th fight in a little more than a calendar year. And so that I'm not, it's just one of the factors. It's just one of the factors. I'm not, it. I can't sit here. The kid get what I'm trying to say is I don't think it was. I think the rabbit punches obviously were a main part there, but another part I think it would be unfair to not mention is, the wear and tear it puts on our body of weight cutting and amounts of fights. He wasn't a one punch guy. He was a guy who would stand and trade with you, but he would take a lot of shots and he'd give a lot of shots. Super exciting to watch. And so those 6 fights, you see 8 rounder, 9 out of 10, 7, 8 rounder, that sort of thing. And that happened in the ninth. I think Tio wins the unanimous decision. Guys, we're 30 minutes in. There's 80 of you in here. Just like the video for me, please. I think Teo wins the unanimous potential. I'd like everyone thinks so. Are we thinking that Teo gets dropped because Ryan gets dropped? And you guys know how I roll. I'm not a guy who's going to sit here, especially if something is unknown. None of us could read the future. I'm a guy who hears theory, and I want you to explain. I understand the logic because we saw Raleigh do it to Ryan. And so people were putting credence into that. It's not a bad read. My parlay, Islam and Ribovic Joel. Try. I like it. I like that, bro. I like that, Diego. Okay, bring the book back up. Either way, Teo money line. Sup, Johnny? If Makachev doesn't win this weekend, I'm laying off main card favorites for the year. Previous certainties that missed. Adesanya, Strickland. I took Strickland. Chimaev, Strickland. I took Strickland. Taporia, obviously I took Taporia. So I got burned on the Taporia pick. But I was on the right side 2 out of 3. I don't know anybody who took Justin. I do. There is a guy. I don't know. Was it Christos? Did you take Gaethje? It was either Christos. Who's also one of my. Maybe it was John McGanna. I know one of our boys in the Discord actually took Justin, and he was getting torched all fight week. And then when Justin won, cue the Nacho Libre meme. you guys know that's my favorite meme, that Nacho Libre meme. Hella excited to see how Islam does against Garry. Islam by sub. Let's go. I'm playing my favorite play of the weekend, boys, is the points double prop. If you take Carolyn Vier and Troy Isley both on points, you're at plus 140. Another one of my favorite plays is a mixed triple. And I gave these are in the Discord. The last ticket that I posted for our VIPs, and I usually don't do mixed tickets, but if you play Devell Smith on the money line, he's on the undercard in the Salida promotions card against Hakeem Lopez. He's in a good spot here, by the way. If you take Devell Smith on a money line at $1.40, Tito Mercado by knockout, odds aren't great. I got him at $1.18, and this is why I've had to parlay it. And then Makachev either by submission or on points, that's $1.43. If you combine that triple, you're at plus 132. And you guys know how I roll. I'm in the business of doubling our bankroll, doubling our money. So I'm never going to play a ticket full unit. I'm never going to play any ticket that's not at least doubling our money, doubling our bankroll. I think the secret and the goal is for you boys who are just getting into sort of understanding the game, the betting strategies, understanding boxing is, guys, you don't have to bet on every fight. What I suggest you to do if you're new to it, or if you've been in the game and you're kind of in a rut and you're trying to create momentum, either adjust your strategy or create wins. How do you create wins? Doubling our money. Why get greedy? Think about it. If you talked about any sort of investment and the investment was, hey, your return would be doubling your money, you would look at the person and be like, you're a con artist. What are you talking about? That's doubling my money. If that were the case, we'd all be, self-made. Everybody would have, generational wealth if it was that simple. Boxing, that's the way I look at my wagering. That's the way I look at my risk-adverse betting. Now, granted, the Moonshot Parlay, I do it once a quarter. We do it for the boys. That's more of like a lottery sort of thing. My bread and butter, all of the tickets I give week in and week out, all my receipts are up online for the VIPs. Every ticket doubles our money. Now, with that being said, you don't have to bet every fight. You don't have to bet every weekend. Keep that in mind. Taporia, my goat, crazy how he lost. Yeah, I think that people might not want to hear this. I think Taporia, his shortcoming was it was tactical, man. It was tactical. Him going to the ground, him emptying his gas tank. You got to see it. You got to see it. If you guys ever train with me here in Sydney, or if you ever see any of my training, I'm even at 44 years old, man. I've always been a type of guy who weaponized my cardio. And some of my clients I do their strength training for who are boxers who are young, and I tell them that I was like, how to box. You're gonna do your skill work. We're gonna focus on your strength and focus on weaponizing your cardio. If you could, nothing. There's not a more desperate feeling in the world than being in the fight and running out of gas. That and then Topuria early on in the first 2 minutes of round one, not respecting Justin's jab and getting hit with freaking everything. Justin was landing that jab at will, and Topuria was just walking in on it. And so it's like, bro. So psychologically, tactically, there's adjustments. We'll just see if the damage and the mental scars will be too much for Ilya to come back. I don't like him at 55. I like Ilya at 45, and I think that he could go again. He's still young. And a kid like that who's been so successful his whole life, who's super competitive, who probably reads the comments, he's going to want to come back with a vengeance. So we'll see. What's up, Soriano? Great day, great day. I always talk about it. This is one of my favorite parts of the day. I got to be honest, excluding my family, my loved ones, and my coaching, because I love what I do there too. But talking to you boys and chopping it up and riffing and seeing where our leans are, talking about the best sport in the world, having a great day. Hope you are too, big dog. Arobai, Alvarez, Ribovic, Malik, Makachev, underdog pick. Let's go, Mike. You're taking Fernandez. Let's pull it up. Is Kane fighting Jalen? Yeah. Oh shit. Those odds are evening out too. Mike, you must have swayed the odds because last night I think wasn't Fernandez like plus 170? He's down to plus 123. Let's see those odds. Where's the fluctuation? Does UFC doesn't give us the fluctuation like boxing? No, that's interesting. I like on this app on the boxing, you see the odds fluctuating. There's a lot of talented boxers. I know. Yo, Johnny, what's the quickest way to join the Discord? New member, saw your reasons to pay to fight. Appreciate you. User, if you joined here on YouTube, send me an email. My email is in my YouTube bio, johnnystoffcode@icloud.com. If you join on Patreon, DM me. Boxers just need a good promoter. True. Yeah, new member, too crazy. That Tim's doing. You guys are just new then? Oh, boys. You would have been going crazy then if you would have seen us, the Josh Kelly read over Murtazaev, the Brandon Figueroa read over Nick Ball. There's so many of them, but those two pop out. Zepeda, obviously, over Roach, but Arnold Barboza Jr. over Kenny Sims. These are all dogs. And appreciate having you, man. Whenever you come on board, man, I treat this like I treat this like a team. It's a community. Add value however you can, whether it's on the live streams like this or in our Discord. Doing write-ups, sharing tickets. I'm all about building a community, boys, of like-minded boxing heads. You know what I'm saying? Best sport in the world. That's that's what I mean by that. Seahawks, the Chiefs. Guys, I'm a Browns fan. I'm sorry. Super chat. The big fella Rez with the super chat. Is that Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas? I never noticed that. Sub Johnny, feel like it's the A-side Palooza this weekend. Got a long parlay, win all the A-side plus 200. Yeah. And guys, we can't force dogs. We can't force dogs. Last week was one of the, there was more action last week. And there were a lot of, grumblings that there were a lot of these dogs were live. Um, Dina, barely plus money. She was one of the dogs. And then there was only one other dog. I didn't play that fight, and that's why I don't know the name. It was on the boxer card. It was our boy Mike Tyler's sparring partner. He was a plus 300. He won. But other than that, it's been a few weeks of this, and you'll have that. And we don't always have to dog hunt. When we see the promotions like No Limit, promotions like Eye of the Tiger, promotions like Top Rank, promotions like Salida. I told you guys a stat in the Discord at the beginning of the week. I did my research. This is Salida Promotions' sixth card in 2026. Of the first five, how many B-sides have won? 0. So keep that in mind, man. We can't force dogs. Now, granted, when the A-sides are such heavy favorites, it forces us to get a little bit sexy to find our plus money tickets like we had to do Wednesday night. But, Terramona 1-2, that was the play of the week. That's the one each week you got to find a win you hang your hat on. That's the one. And I actually my biggest regret is that a lot of you guys in America couldn't play that. But I do like I said, I do like, if you're looking for props, I like Valle on points, Caroline, and I like Troy on points. And if you parlay that, you're a plus money. All money line 2, no prop. Let me know if you want the ticket. Post it, Rez. Share the wealth, baby. Yeah, guys. If you guys are in our Discord, man, and this is why our community is so strong, is if you feel you have a winner, before the fights, share it, bro. You know what I'm saying? We have a section called winning tickets, and it only will allow you to, if this is what you want to do, grow your reputation as a bettor. Some of you guys are really, really good, man. Really good at what you do. I'm just the talking head here. And so I've talked in a few of the boys in our group to start their own social media channels. One of them is J Knows Boxing, my boy Julius. He's really, really good at this. And a lot of you guys are really, really good at this. And if you think, what I ask from you is share it, dude. Share the wealth, spread the knowledge, help people. That's what it comes down to. If you're in our community, it's all about adding value, trying to help where, we're not going to agree on everything. And when we disagree, I expect you boys to act like gentlemen and men and do it in an educated way. Other than that, man, if you feel you got a winner, share it. Yo, what's up, boys? Youngin, Moonshot, the big fella. Off topic, whatever happened to that guy that was talking, that woman, oh, did I read the letter to you? Should we talk about the serial killer? Let's not. Bro, that he left a letter, bro. I went to stake out the property, and when I get to the doorstep, there was an envelope and a letter. Crazy. Isn't it Christos? I think it is. I think that Tim Tszyu would be ill-advised to go fight Lara. I know Tim wants to be a champion. I'm sorry, guys. We don't play favorites in our group. The Tim Tszyu I saw against Errol, even though we picked Tim to win and we fed families, even though I thought it was shocking, we ad nauseum, my take. Forget it. We picked him, he won. That Tim Tszyu against Errol does not beat the mixed Zarafa we just saw. He doesn't, man. People are asleep. Zarafa is still sharp. Zarafa still has good timing. Zarafa is a good counter boxer. And when he's on the front foot, Zarafa is still aggressive. I call domestic level Michael Zarafa Monzon. Because when he's in a fight that he feels he's the front runner on, I'm not talking international step-ups, world title step-ups. I'm talking when he's in a fight to where he feels he has an opponent figured out, he turns into Carlos Monzon. You know what I mean? Like Zarafa Monzon. Think about it. We saw his opponent the other night was awkward, young, real tricky. Zarafa was swinging and missing. My biggest take, I'm kind of pissed at Zarafa that he didn't get on the mic and play the villain. Michael Zarafa missed a golden opportunity. This kid is hearing people booing him in the Gold Coast. Rightfully so. But he goes out and stomps that guy who'd only been stomped by Bakary Samaki. He got on the mic and he apologized. I would have been like, You had to pull a Conor McGregor because Zarafa used to have a little bit of that in him. You know, you watch younger Zarafa on the mic going to all of Tim Zoo's fights, showing up in the ring, wanting that fight, them talking their shit. If I'm Zarafa, I'm taking that mic and I go, Q Connor, I apologize to absolutely nobody. Like, you know, like I thought he let a golden opportunity slip. Because those two, you know, you guys aren't going to like it, what I'm going to say, but in Australia, Zarafa and Zoo would sell out a stadium. And I would be right in that. And I know Christos would be there too. We'd be at the weigh-ins, taking pictures. Mercado might not knock out to go low key. Don't know the points on it. Points is a great move. Points you're getting like plus 300. The knockout prop sucks, by the way. You're right. And that's why I threw. Did I even throw Tito? Did I throw? I threw Tito on a triple. I threw Tito on my half unit triple. But Tago is 37 years old. Tito, big puncher. I'm just, you know, every bet's risky. I'm just not talking myself out of Tito not knocking a 37-year-old out. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're going to be in the ring together in like 2 days. And I'd rather sometimes you got the bet you have to make is what you can see happening more logically and what you want to see happen. Like I'd rather bet on Tito getting the knockout than having to watch a Tito Mercado fight and hope it goes to the cards. That was hard to reconcile as a bettor. Do you know what I mean? And I'm finding out in real time it's a little harder to explain to you guys too. What I'm trying to, you know, we win way more than we lose because we do this logically and we have good reads. But knowing, you know, how Tito fights and watching him come up and seeing him finally getting promotional backing, we know he had that one fight with Matchroom. Now he's with Salida. This is a kid who's been calling out the big names in the division for like 5 years, dude. This is a kid who definitely feels like he's been overlooked for at least 5 years. He talks his shit on the mic. He's a puncher. He has quick hands. He's always in shape. I'm gonna bet on that. I'm gonna bet the knockout. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna bet that kid on points right now. Now, Mercado's sleeping. Okay. Yeah. Because when you're betting Tito by knockout, you're watching like an execution mission, you know, with everything. Like you're seeing a lot of this. And the one thing with Tito is, you know, sometimes he throws his backhand from like half a ring away. And you know that, so I'm going to be looking at adjustments on that end. I'm going to be looking at adjustments like if I were to be critical on Tito, it would be on his offense and being a little bit more, having a little bit better of a poker face with when he wants to let his hands go, because he has a couple tells, you know, like a poker tell. He has a couple tells in his style when he's going to throw that backhand. And I brought it up in his last fight, and he's standing right in front of you with his hands down. So, you know, I don't think this is going to be the guy to challenge that. But I think, you know, I am a little hesitant with ordaining Tito as the next, you know, killer at 40. We'll see. But it has nothing to do with like the things he does really well. It's just from the defensive side. I'm very fond of moonshots. I like the idea of betting. Yeah, and that's why we got to do them. Not everybody has a no limit bankroll. Shout out to our boy No Limit, and that's a compliment. Not everybody. He's one of our guys in our Discord who his bankroll is impressive, and we all aspire to get to that bankroll, and we have to do it wisely, and you can't cut corners. And whatever No Limit has done in his life, he set himself up to have that bankroll. You know what I'm saying? We all have our own story, and some guys, all you know, are just, you know, the guys who text me, they're only looking for 50% returns. You know, No Limit, even with his bankroll, will get a little bit risky. You know what I'm saying? He'll add some stuff to it, and he hits a lot, dude. But I like to my sweet spot is kind of like the double your money bankroll. I know if you're betting like $10, it's not really doing much for you, but no matter what your bankroll is, man, just make sure you're having fun doing whatever you're doing and you're not chasing. That's all I can say. There's a way to be smart about this, and there's a way to be organized about this, and there's a way to be mature about this, right? Hey, yo, my boy, does K. Scott fighting as a man validate your opinion? Does K. Scott fighting as a man? What does that mean? I've known Kay I've known for over 15 years. She's definitely not a man. K. Scott fighting as a man. What do you mean? K. Scott, I know you're being funny. K. Scott fought in the first ever female boxing match in Australia. Kay Scott's an OG, mate. You know, she Commonwealth Games, great amateur, been fighting since she was a kid. The thing about Kay is at 42 years old now, the mobility isn't the same as it used to be. Obviously, she's a bit stiff. Kay thrives on jabbing and grabbing. Not quite the Klitschko jab and grab, but she's gonna grab, she's gonna wrestle, and these are 2 minute rounds. And I think it's really hard for me to see Clarissa knocking Kay out. Tago's old now. We'll stop him. Let's go. Yo, Johnny, how do you feel about this parlay? Casey Dixon. What's up, Depth? I'm not getting the Casey Dixon fight, bro. So I can't comment on it, but I know you know what you're doing. So the fights that I don't have, I'll just let you decide. Mercado, for various reasons. I got Devell, I got Lozado, I got Tito, I got Caroline, I got Auntie Danielle, and I got Clarissa. I like it. And this is what we're going to have to do. It's our only action. It's a Salido Promotions card. An A side hasn't lost. And I only started my research of the A sides in 2026. I didn't go to 2025. So, it could go all the way back. The A side's not losing. Eye of the Tiger cards. The last A side to lose an Eye of the Tiger card was November 2025. See, these are stats that our group researches. Like it's not just who's fighting. You guys need to know. This is my job as a teacher and a coach and the talking head of our team. Is these are things that I share with you guys. Is when you see these matchups and you're doing your own homework, watching tape is kind of like, because once you watch every fight over a certain amount of time, you know how they're going to fight. The study will come down to like, have they changed camps? Who are their sparring partners? What are the injuries like? What were their weight cuts like last? Do they have a history of this? Do they have a history of that? Who's the promotional company? Where's the fight taking place? What like these are the sort of variables that allow us to win. Watching just tape is good to become a student of the sport, but from the strategy of betting, it's a small element, to be honest with you, because based on activity or based on levels, you don't really have to watch tape on every fight. Fresh BX, my guy. That ticket is crazy because it looks like almost everything I would pick. It's actually similar to mine. Fresh BX, the big fella. Garcia could have had him out 4 years if Garcia was smarter back then. Tito is much more smarter and throws combinations with the level change. Yeah. We're talking Garcia versus the kid Tito's fighting. His name's Dogwell. I think it's Garcia's feet too. Like you've never heard me jump on my channel and ever say that I felt a certain way about Ryan being like a Hall of Fame type fighter. If anything, we talk about what he's good at, and I think Ryan Garcia is the type of fighter who stopped elevating due to him having these few really good gifts at a young age, and he just kept getting away with things. So in that fight you're speaking of, he wasn't cutting the ring off, and it's his feet. Could you imagine if Garcia had better feet, and if the left hook, was hidden behind movement or hidden behind level changes, like so. That Dalton Smith pick, I know, bro. I know. If you're just tuning in fresh, you could rewind it to the first 10 minutes. Of all of those bets, it's the Dalton Smith one that I'm most worried about. What about the upcoming fights? TMA 8 and Troy. I like Troy. We'll talk about Tia and Carlos in the next few weeks. I'm gonna fast forward the chat now to get caught up. Because when we used to have 10 people in here, it seemed like yesterday it was easy to get to every one of you. Now we're averaging like 100. It's tough to get to the whole chat. My boy here, Barry. I'm at Bet365 added a few of the fights from Argentina. Did they? Let me check. Dude, we are deep in the trenches. I know did that IBA card already take place, bro, in Russia? Like, there's boxing out there, boys. You know what I'm hoping for, and this is why I always say boxing is growing internationally. Boxing's the best sport in the world. But more promotional companies. Some people will talk trash about the DAZN subscription. I think the DAZN subscription is great. Even though it is behind a paywall, and I do agree with Paulie on the fact that we should figure out a way how to get some of these fights for free. That's how we grow new fans. Back in the day, a lot of the fights would come on free TV, and that's how you get new fans. Only the diehards are gonna pay the paywall price. But I think over time, because there's cards everywhere, and we're not in the business of dissecting matchmaking. We're not in the business of critiquing how fighters are being moved. We're in the business of making money. Generally, if we're gonna minimize what we do, that's what we do. And if you're part of our team and your focus is on anything other than that regarding our sport, I think, we got to stay focused. And so if hearing that the Argentinian card is added to Bet365, it gives me hope that this time next year, because I already think we already have crazy action. Sometimes, like, I don't mind a weekend like this. Like, a weekend like this is kind of like, thank God we got one card. Because we've been on a roll. You know what I mean? We even though like last weekend ended with a loss, we still hit, the 3 weeks, everything 3 weeks prior to that. And then we had one weekend, and we were like 4 months in a row of everything. And then, we had a card on Tuesday this week, the Rise in MMA. Shout out to Sloppy Guac Guac, one of our MMA sharps. We hit everything in that. And then Wednesday night in Australia, we hit everything on that. So, like, just the Salida promotions card on Sunday is kind of, for me, I'm like, good. A little bit of a chiller, a little bit we have time to breathe. Because I used to think, and I think this kind of held me back in the past, held my knowledge of the game back, and held my strategy of becoming a full-time boxing bettor back. I used to think that I had to wait for pay-per-view fights. Well, these are pay-per-view fights. Anything else, like, I can't. That's kind of a bad attitude to have, because for me over the last year, it's the big pay-per-view fights, not all the time, that if I were to say I'd struggle with. Like, I didn't do well that time. Like, I could tell you off jump over the last 12 months, the cards I didn't do well on. The Times Square card in New York City, that was one of the biggest events of the year. I struggled with that card bets. I took ABJ over Teo. I took Ryan over Raleigh. And the only one I won was Devin over JC. That was it. So I struggled on that card. And then what's another card I struggled on? There was another big card. It might have that I should, but these little domestic shows that, like, people who are too cool for school don't want to bet on because they're not like pay-per-view. They're leaving a lot of money on the table. All right, I'm not. So, guys, this is all I'm getting, Barium. I'm gonna move the comment. By the way, if you guys are on Twitter, follow Barium Boxing. This kid gives away so much free game, and he provides our community with freaking amazing write-ups. All right, so this is the see. Okay, so this is the Salidas card. I have Lozado here. This is the Casey Dixon fight that Depth was talking to me about. I'm not getting that fight, but looking at the odds, I didn't watch tape. You go Dixon. Daniel Marcado, pretty much unbettable considering you're getting $1 off of 100. I'm not getting the McElroy fight. That's interesting. Damn, Bet365 is literally giving you the entire card. Or you know what? Or is that the Argentini card? Javier Alejandro Cordoza, Ruben Nestor. Okay, that looks like, and that, okay, these odds. Look at my guy finding diamonds in the rough right here. I see what you're talking about now, Barium. These two right here. And look at the odds. So we have a 50-50, right? Dude, you guys are savages, bro. See, this is what there's. I guarantee Barium has a read. Barium, who do you like in the John? Who do you like in this fight? Tell me your read real quick. Tell the boys your read. Because I know you taped it. You wouldn't have brought it up. I know you well enough to know that. John Laria versus Adrian Maximiliano Robledo. 50-50 fight on paper, whichever way you go. I guarantee Barium has a read on this. He's probably already done tape. He'll know about the Argentina domestic gyms that they fight out of. And then the other one is Cordoza versus Nestor. These have good odds. Dude, I'll do it. If you give me a read, Barium, and I've told you before, a little sneaky Argentinian double, I'll put it out there. Cordoza versus Munoz. This is Ruben Nestor. Is Nestor? I've heard. Is Nestor live? This is crazy. We're out here. Argentina, Argentina domestic, baby. Let's go. I'm gonna wait till Barium gets back to me on that. Johnny, my bro, what have you talked about Islam, Gary? Ian, Gary, what really made you want to take Ryan by knockout on 50-50 on? So what made me take Ryan by knockout, obviously, is we haven't seen Conor Benn at 147 in a while. Conor Benn, in my opinion, his strengths are literally his determination and he's coming in shape, right? Other than that, he walks in the front door with no jab. He's not a technical guy. He's out on his front foot. He's going to be super determined, but I think, with Ryan's timing, we know about his lead hook, Ryan adding the backhand against Barrios, who I did not see that coming. You know what I'm saying? And you probably got to think that you're going to see more of that. So now we're talking about a Ryan Garcia who's using two hands to punch. And it was the backhand that dropped Barrios early on. It wasn't even the lead hook. So I just think with how much emotion that Conor fights, he's like we know about him, a blood and guts guy. He gets hit a lot. Ryan could punch, man. And so I'm thinking about if he has 12 rounds to work that body, 12 rounds to catch Conor coming in. I do like now that knockout prop is on my moonshot parlay. You might not see that on any other ticket other than the moonshot parlay. Johnny, my bro, fight fan. Abdul Malik, Orobay, Ribovic, Shields, Mercado, Ali, -180. What's up, Jojo? So for the boxing heads, Malik is UFC, Orobay UFC, Esteban is UFC, and Jojo, I have all three. I'm playing all three as well on a separate ticket. Shields, Mercado, Isley. I mean, when you're looking at the money line on Shields and Mercado, obviously they're going to win. But this is only me speaking from experience. I can't speak for everyone here. I played, and now I have boundaries on my own personal way on how I gamble, on how I bet, right? I made a rule for myself after Caleb Plant lost to Resendez. That fight will still live in that fight made me change my betting patterns, and I'll show you what I mean. Right now, Shields is $1.04. $100 to win $4. Mercado's $1.04. $100 to win $4. Caleb Plant was $1.06 against Resendez, and he lost. And I had him on a parlay that week, and that was a week, and we hit everything except that fight. And so for me, strategy wise, I made a change. I was like, I'm never throwing anyone under $1.10 on any of my parlays. But sometimes you have to break the rules. I know it's free money, it's on the table, but it's pretty much unplayable. If you're playing, I like it. I'm not arguing with that, and that's kind of why the odds aren't really there. Gore, Turner. So Trayshawn Gore, my boy Christos. What's up, boy? Trayshawn. So Christos and I, we have a healthy disagreement all the time. Trayshawn is a guy that, he's fighting my boy. I'm going against him on that. Jalen, I like. Malik, I like, plus 250. Christos is kind of on a heater, too. Real boxing is the U.S. Ray J. First Brown. What's up, Raider? Real boxing is in the U.S. Ray J. Are we talking about Ray J? Ray J? 4 years means everything because he's 4 years older and with only 2 fights in between. Come on, age is everything at lower weights. You know this. The boys are out here heating up, dude. Look at the boys. Fighter, Barium. Guys, the chat is going crazy. Shield stop. What I'm going to do now, we're over an hour. I'm going to focus on the insiders and the super chats. Mosby, Overton's opponent has fought very good competition. Do you see him? Let's pull it up. Now, Mosby, you're coming at it from a very logical perspective. I understand. They're putting the Overton fight behind a paywall, by the way. I guess Overton is either a rapper himself. I'm sure the chat will let us know. Or, they're putting it behind, he's friends with local rappers. Something along those lines. You have to pay to see Overton fight. With that being said, he's being moved a certain way. I think one of the most underrated technical coaches in North America is a kid. I knew him when he was young. A guy named Tom Yankello. Tom Yankello is a guy out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tom Yankello is the guy who molded Paulie Spadafora into becoming a world champion. I think Paulie retired, what, 49-1? Pittsburgh kid. So Yankello has kind of molded Atif Oberton into who he is. So Oberton's gonna have a good IQ. He's gonna have a good mind in there. He has power. We know he could crack. He's marketable. Just for the sake, we wanted to see both sides. I want to see what because I taped both guys, but I'm not getting props to even bet that fight. So for me, Atif at $1.06, it's $1.06, man, kind of unplayable. Lord Pretty Calvo. What a nickname. What a nickname. Lord Pretty Calvo. Let's go. Who wins? The fight I want to see on the down low is Atif versus Greatest Kraus. That's the fight at light heavyweight, boys. Oh, no. He's fighting Romer. Romer's might be 40 years old. How old's Romer now? I hate BoxRec. I absolutely hate BoxRec. And I listened to you guys. I paid for the $1.99 subscription, and it still doesn't help. You know you're salty when you pull up your BoxRec and David Benavidez' face comes up. Yeah, Romer's 42, boys. Romer's 40. Romer is my age. I'm a little bit older than Unk. Now, Unk is fighting at light heavyweight now. No shade to the Colombians. Julius once said, making the Colombian Olympic team isn't. If you guys didn't hear Julius's rant about the Bermuda national team, go watch our live stream last week. Julius's rant about the. Okay, so he fought Berlanga. Was that fight at 68? Yeah, look. All I'm gonna say, Mosby, this fight, Romer at 42. You're whenever we have aging fighters who are making their way up, maybe starting at 60, and they're slow. As you get older, you're slowly making your way up to light heavyweight, and at 42, I mean, gatekeeper, journeyman. It's a good spot for Lord Pretty Calvo. I still have to review a few more things before I stand on a pick, but those are the type of fights I love to tape. Yeah, bro, the Argentinian fights. Thanks for putting them on my radar. Look, my book's not giving, my normal book here isn't, but Bet365 is, and those are, I will entertain the fact of reading your breakdown and then making a play, because the odds are crazy, and those are the fun ones that hit. The books insist on feeding us until we burst, bro. You ain't never lied. It's cheap in the house. Angulo's 42. I thought he was, man. I thought he was. And, he's been in. Look, Mosby, thanks for the super chat. Mosby's right. He has been in there. When you're 42, Romer at one time, there's a reason he was, his resume looks good. But look, how did he perform in those sort of big fights, right? That's not always the case, because, I know some guys thought Zarafa was going to lose because you asked the same question. How did Zarafa perform in those big fights, right? Same as Angulo. He lost. But the politics of the matchup matter. Zarafa being home, A side, newly signed a Matchroom, play the knockout. Angulo, B side, 42, all the money being put behind Lord Pretty Calvo. I don't know how I feel about that fight being behind a paywall. Like, the boxing fan in me, it pisses me off. Like, what are you talking about? We have to pay to watch Atif Oberton fight. Like, but the entrepreneur in me, I kind of get it. The entrepreneur in me is like, all right, it's a clever way to, and Salita's getting a piece of it. All of Clarissa's girls are on the card. It From an entrepreneurial perspective, it's kind of a maybe they're onto something. From a fan perspective, we got some hackers in our. They think they're gonna they think they're gonna put it behind the paywall, and we're not gonna be able to watch the fight. That's the funniest thing. You know damn well people in the Discord are gonna be able to tap into that fight, and we're gonna be able to stream it. Yep, there goes. I hate BoxRec. BoxRec always freezes my shit. The prelims will be on the Zeus platform. I've never, guys. What is Zeus? What is this Zeus platform? I've heard it being spoken about enough. You think Hot Rod? What's up, Mutant? Shout out to Mutant. You think Hot Rod will beat? So, Hot Rod is one of these guys. You think you have a read on him, and then you don't have a read on him. And I'm not. I'm not too proud to admit I picked Vostik, man. Vostik looked good until he didn't. Dude, Vostik was in immaculate shape against Hot Rod. And if that fight goes down in the UK in London, that fight probably would have been stopped in Vostik's favor. But somehow Hot Rod had to dig deep and he kind of woke up. And then we know how that fight went. We watched Craig Richards against Azim in Africa. Craig Richards is one of these guys, awkward. He's a bit older now, up there, but he's awkward, man. He's long. He's a guy that's kind of like when you're trying to time him, he's craftier than people think he is. Watch the Azim fight. And look, we're in the weed. We're talking about a fight that went down in Africa. We're streaming like a Lagos domestic fight that I think it was on that Amir Khan show, which is horrible. Amir Khan's promotions that they were so bad. The Zone was streaming it, and they were like, you know what? Like, this is mid card. They took it off, but this is on that card, and they had like rappers fighting in the co-main, which was horrible. It started raining in the ring. They were doing like a live stream of R. Kelly singing songs from prison. It was crazy, but I have to see the odds first on Hot Rod versus Richards, because I know a lot of people are just going to go right to Hot Rod. He gets hit, but Richards isn't a big. It's wild. We're talking Hot Rod versus Craig Richards. We out here though, aren't we? I would take the over on Tito. It's set at 3.5. What's your price on it? I'm not getting those props. Oral by 2+ takedowns in round 1 is nearly plus money. I'm worried Wells might not get up. Yeah, Wells, you look at his body type. Wells is really short, compact, super athletic, really explosive guy. What is he, 38 now? 39 now? And at that age, especially that frame he carries around, certain frames, certain fight styles age better than other frames and fight styles. A guy who's built like Jeremiah, so what's your 2 takedowns in round? We're getting really. I'm not that experienced on this specific. That's a specific ass prop. Oral by 2+ takedowns. It might not be bad because, like I just said, with Wells's tank and he'll be able to get up at least once. I don't mind that, actually. The dude is super explosive. It's when you keep taking a guy like that down that, like, think about Kamaru versus Buckley. Especially if and there's kind of parallels with Wells and Buckley's getting up off the ground. They don't do it technically. They do it, super explosive, which drains a gas tank. So I actually don't mind the 2+ takedowns. I'm not going to play it. He didn't start, but he didn't start with him. So when did he go? That's good call, Luna. That's how I know about Calvo, though, is through Kello. This is why you always I always appreciate the chat, man. I learned just as much through you boys. You know how it is when you meet a new friend. You meet that new friend, and they think the day they met you, you were born that day. And as your friendship prolongs, they try to tell you things. It's like, bitch, I know, motherfucker. I had a life before we met. Sometimes, with fighters or, I think it's probably just human nature. For me, when I heard about Atif, it was through Tom. So in my head, I was like, oh, he brought him up. But it's good to know that he didn't. I mean, who was Atif Overton's coach before Tom Yankella? Shout out to the chat. Okay. Okay, here we go. So before working with Yankello, light heavyweight boxer Overton was trained and coached by Sharon Baker. Shout out to Sharon Baker out of the Philly area, where she guided much of his decorated amateur career and early professional debut. Okay. So through his teens. So shout out to Hunox. He's going to the Ami days. Coached by Sharon Baker from his late teens to the start of his pro career, fought out of the Pivot Boxing Academy in Philly under Baker and advisor Orlando Rosa. So it's only 2023, Western Pennsylvania. Okay, there you go. This is important information. In when you see fighters who do make those coaching changes, it's kind of like when we think about the kid out of the UK, Andy Lee. When you see fight, and we have experience watching, when you watch Ben Whitaker, once he went amateur to pro, and then from that first fight with Liam Cameron, and then the version that we see now since he went to Andy Lee, and then what he looks like now, and the sort of improvements to Whitaker's game. When I hear about this, fighters who not all fighters will do this. Some fighters will stay around a little bit too long. Loyalty, which is a tough one to kind of. These are tough decisions to make. But I didn't know this. Shout out to the chat. I know you're not a punch prop type of guy, but what punch prop you like for the Shields fight? Okay, so when you that's a crazy one. What sort of what are our options? What are our punch prop options? I'll pull it up. All I'm going to tell you this, Luis, is at this stage of Auntie K's career, Auntie K is going to be clinching and wrestling a lot and holding, and they're going to be up against the ropes, and minutes and rounds are going to fly by. And this is going to be a really frustrating one, I think, for the knockout. Because Auntie will clinch more than she punches. Clarissa, I don't know what your odds are saying. There's no way Auntie K is out punching Clarissa. I like Cortez's coach and his brother. Are we talking Andres? Did I miss? See, the chat. I'm missing questions. He talked a lot of shit during the Garcia fight, and now I'm thinking about picking Cortez to beat. It is Andres. How much credence do we put in the McCrory knockout? We can't put a lot in it, can we? But when you think about a guy like Mark Magsayo, he is kind of one of these fighters who kind of thrives with momentum. He's a confident puncher. You know what I'm saying? A kid, like, you let this kid simmer, you let a guy who punches like that gain confidence in a fight. He's going into every fight thinking he's going to get the knockout. And Andres Cortez, we've watched him a lot. What are the odds on that fight? See, you guys know me. I don't have a big enough brain to be able to focus on multiple weeks ahead. I'll give you my read, but my mind is only thinking about the Salidas card and the UFC card, and then and now Argentina. Shout out to Barium. And once those cards end, once Sunday night comes, I could then think about the following week. But Andres Cortez versus Mark McSaw, that's going to be. I have no idea who Cortez is. I'm guessing is Cortez the slight dog. That's it. So Mark is 55%. This is a 50-50 fight, boys. Andres Cortez, man. This is a fun. Shout out to Zufa. So this is in a month. You boys got Floyd. What's up, Floyd? Always got your eyes on the prize. I like it. Look at those odds, boys. Look at this. So Mark started All right. So what I would tell you, Floyd, and for all of you Andres Cortez betters, is that if you really like Andres, you better jump on him now because he started at plus 190, and look at that line. That line is on a sprint downhill. So, I'm not always, I am going to say I do pride myself on jumping on early lines. Some people don't like it. I earned the nickname the Swindler a while back because of that. People said that I was swindling people. I am an early line guy. But I should let you know, for all of you people watching in the shadows who don't comment, who aren't in our community, but still tune in, I appreciate you as well. But I do have two dogs that I put money on that I haven't shared in our group yet for the sake of the ethics of the game. And that's shout out to the haters because one might say, Johnny, why do you listen to them? Because people were getting pissed a while ago. The whole betting on the sport. Doing this is kind of new to me. I grew up in the sport. This is my religion. Boxing's a sacred place for me, and I've always gambled on the sport. But giving it away is new to me, right? So I didn't know the ethics of bettings online, or you know what I'm saying. So I would guess be the dude who would just fucking crash lines because we get these books early. And I'm not an asshole. I'm not a dickhead, man. And so for the sake of that, in the next few weeks, I already know who my dogs are next week and the week after, but I haven't made it public. You know damn well though, as soon as 100%, as soon as the Salida card ends, I'm putting my dog up. I'll let you guys know who it is for next week. But if you like Cortez here, guys, that line is falling fast. So Floyd, jump on it, bro. I think Gary Russell might be on it. So Mutant, this is Gary Antonio Russell, right? So just so we know, Gary Russell Jr., 38-year-old older brother, former world champion, some of the fastest hands in his era. Beautiful guy to watch when you watch him train, when you watch him cook. Gary Russell Jr. doesn't, it's just the Russell family. The activity was, that's what the knock on. But in terms of technique, discipline, hand speed, and Gary Antoine Russell, GAR, is one of the baddest dudes in the world at 140. Technical southpaw slugger, just beat Andy Hiroka. But this isn't either one of them. This is the 33-year-old middle brother, Gary Antonio. So just keep that in mind. Would it be an upset? I don't even think it'd be an upset. For the Shields fight, I think Shields' most punches thrown is minus 350. Look, and finding value. We are Sugar Cheeks. Sugar Cheeks. I have PTSD from Sugar Cheeks. We hit 18 bets in a row last week. 18. Look at the receipts. We hit 18 fights in a row. The fight that was going to make it 19 in a row throughout the whole week. Look at this. My girlfriend hates my hair. She said, "Why don't you cut your hair? You look like a caveman." The Sugar Cheeks fight was the only one we lost. And the boys, you know how we do. It's the only one we talk about. That's the business we're in. So I don't know if I'm willing to have another weekend end on a bad read. So the punch props, I have no experience doing punch props. I have no idea how they add them up. I have no idea how you're tracking them. Hopefully there's a database round to round so you could see it. So I have no experience with that, but that would stress me out. But look, we have a very wide array of bettors. We have guys who are whales. We have guys who do moonshots. We have guys like myself who, do double your money sort of bread and butter. And I know damn well we have guys like Barry who does punch props. There's a lot of prop guys. It's just not my wheelhouse. That would give me anxiety, mate. Could you imagine? Like, what are you supposed to do? So then we're watching the sport. That means that if I'm doing punch props, I'm watching the fight way differently, which could be a good thing. Because you're not watching it with the same strategy. You're just watching like 1, 2, Three. Are these power punches? Are these total punches? And then who gets to decide what a power punch is? Who's adding them up? Like, and then what if your number that you add up is different from the number that they say happened and you lose a bet over that? Like that for me would drive me insane. Andres Cortez. Yeah. This is a crazy parlay. Paulette Cuesta, Ruben. All right, so there's a lot of early reads on Ruben. This is the Argentinian fight. Robledo. So FJ, did you tape Nestor and Robledo, or is this an odds play? And I'm not putting you on the spot. You've been here before. You know how I roll. I'm just generally interested because I know we have guys. There's some bettors who are odds play guys. There's some guys who, won't bet until they see tape. Everyone's different, man. I'm not in any position to judge any way you roll. As long as you're winning, as long as you're winning, and if you're in our group, as long as you're providing value, that's all I ask for. For the boys who have their tickets, who say, if you're in our Discord and you're messaging me and you say, Johnny, do you want to see my ticket? What I would tell you is like, bro, post it. Our team wants to see your tickets. No one's going to judge you. Mercado over 3.5. FJ. So FJ, you are the second one in this chat who said that. So I don't know your odds, but jump on it, bro. Follow your instinct too. Guys, we're 90 in. We're 90 minutes in. 80 you boys are in here. Let's keep it going. I'm done for the day. My Friday mornings here in Sydney, I had a 6 a.m. client, a 7 a.m. client, an 8 a.m. client, a 9 a.m. client, a 10 a.m. client. I had a little bit of a lunch. Then I had a 12 a.m. client. And 6 of those are strength sessions, by the way. 6 of those strength sessions, I trained with 3 of them. So I've worked, and you guys, I started this at 1:30. So my day's already done, which is great. I'm going to stay on and probably until my tablet dies. And then I might, I haven't had a drink in a while. I had a drink 2 weeks ago. I went to a Texas cowboy party. I think that was the last cocktail I had. It was an old fashioned. I'm old. I might get a limoncello. I drink them grandpa drinks, boy. I might go to the liquor store and get a bottle of limoncello, put it in the freezer, get that joint really cold, and then drink it out of a snifter. What you know about that, boy? And watch some NRL tonight. Have a couple little snifters of limoncello, boy. Get that little nice little, kind of like a little bit of a buzz. Go to bed by like 9, and then I got sparring tomorrow at 9. Yeah, dude, your boy's a nerd. Yeah, true. I was just thinking maybe since she's 27 and Serrano is 47. Am I tripping? Come on, boy. It was a typo. He meant 37. You just scared me though, because I'm like, did I lose 10 years? Did I lose 10 years? Is Amanda already 47? I want Rolly to win too, but we got to bet with our wallet. Guys, remember, we got to bet with our wallet. We don't bet with our heart. We bet with our wallet. I can see I've been on. We're kind of decreasing. We were at 102. We're down to 62. We've been on 90 minutes. I'll wrap it up soon. Mercado over 3.5 solid, but haven't checked his opponent. Just know, yeah, his opponent older, 37. I'm playing the knockout. I like Tito's trajectory, accuracy. Earlier in the stream, I talked about me nitpicking Tito's style a bit, but that's just the coach in me. He does have a tendency to wing his hooks in the pocket with his chin right here. Think about 2 weeks ago, the Golden Boy prospect, the 17-year-old kid, and he's punching with the journey, and he's punching like he's in a firefight, and his chin is here, and he's throwing his hooks like this rather than, and he gets caught. And Tito does have a tendency. The kid is a dog. He wants to be in these slugfests, which is great. Tito could punch too. I want Shields. Yeah, I'm not a Clarissa fan. I'm not a Clarissa hater. I'm a fan of the sport. We'll make money off of Clarissa however we can. I know a lot of the boys are playing Clarissa by knockout, which is plus money. I'm not one of them. Yeah, Auntie Sco. Shout out to Floyd Jr. I just can't wait for another Auntie Sco fight week, boy. I can't wait for Greg Hackett and the Philly boys. Shout out to Greg Hackett. Greg Hackett, man. I only started watching Greg Hackett due to him torching Floyd Schofield's pops like a year ago. He started calling him Auntie Sco. And I was like, then I started subscribing. I can't watch all of Greg's content. It's a bit, what's a good adjective to say? I got to keep my eye on the pulse throughout. I watch some Philly guys. I watch some Texas guys. I watch some LA guys. I watch some British guys. I watch a Japanese channel. Um, that's about it. I think I watch a New York guy. That's about it. I needed, there's only so many hours in the day. But some of Greg's streams, man, you know, you take what you like from them, right? And so, you know what I've noticed about you, American YouTube boxing content creators? These cats, they let their heart depict their bets. Some of their reads are freaking horrible, and it's because and they're telling their followers who is going to win. And I'm like, surely they're trolling their followers because their followers are going to listen and they're going to lose their money. Like and you guys kind of know what I'm probably talking about. Yeah, I definitely don't go to Greg Hackett for gambling advice. I still put my bet in for Gary Antonio, hopefully. Yeah, in Raw. What I could tell you about the Russells is that there was definitely something they saw in this fight for them to have taken this fight. I like most punches thrown, prop, Shields. I know Shields is about to put. No, there's no way Auntie K is outworking Shields. What's your thoughts on my Ellie? Somebody brought it up. Somebody brought it up, dude. You know what? For the sake, there's half of our stream is left, which is fine. We still have 60. We almost had this double. And for those of you who are still here, 90 minutes in, I'll do what I said I wasn't going to do, just so you know. Give me a second. I got it. I got it at plus 130. If you guys know game, you'll know about Tortina. Tortina? Tortina Flores, boy? Did you watch the Ellie Scotney fight, boy? Tortina Flores, mate. I'm talking world-class cardio, which is insane. I'm talking a pace. She has some variance to her punching. She drops levels and like this girl, dude. And I'm pretty sure did MVP, she got signed after the Scott. It had to be Eddie. No, that was an MVP card. She got signed. So I got her a plus 130. We going ammo? Yes. Get some tequila. No, I used to be my favorite tequila. If I'm at a bar, I used to work at a Latin nightclub in Long Beach, California for 7 years. I was a bartender in a different life. I lived in Long Beach on the border of Long Beach and Seal Beach, so right on the border of Orange County. I used to bartend at this Latin nightclub called Lapa Lapa, and our drinks signature like mojitos, margaritas, and one of my favorites is Casadores, but what was the other one we would pour? Herradura. I like Herradura Blanco, but the bar closed, so I can't get in trouble for this. But because I worked there for so long, I would do the liquor order. Have you guys ever heard of Corzo? I'll show you my all-time favorite tequila. And I would order Corzo just so I could drink it on shift. Let me show you. This was like, oh my God, 20 years ago. So this is my favorite tequila. That one. The Corzo Silver. Boy, you get the rock, you get the tin, you put ice in the tin, you do like a 3-second pour with the open bottle, a 3-second pour, fresh lime, cut the limes in half, squeeze one half, squeeze the other half. We would make this simple syrup. So we would take sugar and water and boil it and let that joint sit for like a couple hours. Make our own simple syrup. Do just a splash of that. Boom. So 3-second pour of the Corzo, a whole lime squeezed into it, iced, the simple syrup like a second, and then instead of triple sec, I would use Grand Marnier. Bougie. And I would do it behind the bar. And this was like a 30+ bar clientele, like live jazz music, people driving in with their like Porsches. Um, Belmont Shore neighborhood in Long Beach, California, Lapa Lapa, some great years, right on the beach, literally right on the beach. And shake that joint up, pour it in this little plastic cup, and in one sip, boom, and be cool. That's what I would do. All right, I gotta run, boys. All right, boys, best team in the land. Let's go. JSB Insiders, we have good luck to everybody. You guys aren't going to see me until after fight night. I don't usually stream on Saturdays. You guys could get a hold of me in the Discord. You could get a hold of me on Instagram. If you're a JSB Insider on YouTube or if you're a Patreon VIP and you're not in the Discord, either DM me on Patreon or send me an email because we stream all the fights in the Discord as well. It's one of the best features of our group. Other than the most insightful, educated community as well. So I'll see you boys.